Okay, so this is the Prodeso heat mat. And the roll comes 161 foot roll. And what this is a mat with these knobs where you inlay the wire for the heat. And it's also an uncoupling membrane. See the dovetail and that there. So what this does, it acts as an uncoupling membrane for the tile, and with these knobs it allows for the heat to be inserted between the knobs, the heating wire to be inserted between the knobs, and eliminates a lot of work with self-leveler and stuff like that. You can just lay the mat down and then insert the wire and then tile right over it. Very good system and very efficient. It saves a lot of time because you don't have to do a lot of other steps that you would normally do with a regular heat. It's just all in one. And with this one here, you can use pretty much any wire that's approved for this mat. Like I'm going to be using a sun-touch wire for this here, and you can put it the wire can go every 1, 2, 3 knobs, or every 2 knobs. So you can go 3, 1, 2, 3, or 2. Okay, so you only really need a utility knife to cut it. Put this piece I just cut next to this one here, just bottom tight. And when you put the knobs together, when you put the sheets together, you want to try and get the knobs to line up. And this, because this is plywood, you install this with a polymer modified thin set, and then you install the tile on top of it with an unmodified thin set, premium unmodified thin set. So I'm going to lay this, I'm going to cut all this area in, over there, over here. All the knobs match. It's important to do this so when you run the wire, it doesn't zigzag in and out. Okay, so there's not going to be any wire going under the dishwasher here, so you don't have to match these. You can put these any way you want. Just use up some scrap. Okay, so this is how I do it. I cut the whole thing in. And now I'm going to cement it down. Okay, so I have my thin set mixed up, and now I'm going to roll back sections of the membrane and spread my thin set. And what I'm going to be using is a polymer modified thin set because I'm installing the mat on a plywood base. Okay, so next step is I dampen the plywood. That removes dust and gives the plywood a little drink so that it doesn't suck the moisture right out of the thin set, and makes for a better, stronger bond. Okay, so the next step is to spread your thin set, and the way I usually do it is first I use the back side of the trowel to key the thin set in, and then I flip it over and use the notch side of the trowel to gauge out the thin set. Now using the flat side of the trowel is actually a very important step because it creates a better bond between the plywood and the thin set. Okay, so once you got the thin set spread, it's time to roll the mat into the thin set. And what I usually use is a wooden trowel to smooth it in and push it into the thin set so you get a good bond. Okay, so when you're smoothing it in with the wooden float, you want to make sure that you get all the air bubbles out, and that you make sure you get good contact with the thin set. Okay, so that's the kind of coverage you want to see. Completely covered. Okay, so you're going to do the same thing for the whole floor until all your membrane is installed correctly. So just to go over the process, you need on plywood, polymer modified thin set, good quality polymer modified thin set. Dampen the plywood, that takes off the dust and stops the thin set from prematurely drying out. Back side of the trowel to key in the thin set, notch side of the trowel to gauge out the thin set, roll back the membrane into the thin set and smooth it out with a wooden trowel to make sure that you push it in and it gets a good bond into the thin set. Okay, so this is the wire I'm going to be using for the Prodeso heat mat. They come in 120 and 240 volts, come complete with instructions, and you order it according to the area you need to heat. Now the one particular one I got is for 140 square feet, and it's 240 volts. The wire will come with a label on it which has some values on it, which I'll show you in a minute. And you're going to test this wire 3 times. Once when you take it out of the box, once when you get it in the mat, and then when you're finished installing the tile. And you're going to record all those values, all the directions are in the booklet on how to do it. You're going to need a multimeter, and you're going to record all the values in the book. Okay, I'm going to set my meter to 2000 ohms, and I'll test between the black and the blue, or this could be white, and see what I get. $33, and that is consistent with the values on the label. And I can record that in here. Then I'm going to test between the black and the ground and the blue and the ground. Okay, so with my multimeter still on 2000, I'm going to measure between the black and the ground and then the blue and the ground. And it should indicate I. That's good. And do the other one. That's good. And I'm going to record that in the book as well. Tape down these wires just so it's easier to test, because I don't have alligator clips. This meter doesn't have alligator clips, so it keeps running away from me. So I'm going to test these 2 and then record the value in the book. So 15.31. And 15.26. Then I'm going to leave for the electrician. Now I got that tucked away there. Now this wire, I'm going to snake it all around. The area is going to be heated. Okay, so I've marked off the area that I'm not going to go. So I know not to go beyond that black line. All the way around. 3 inches away from the wall and 8 inches away from a heat source. Okay, so the wire is being tested out of the box, as I just showed you, and then it's time to insert the wire into the knobs. Now the wire can go every 2 pegs, or every 3 pegs, or it can actually go a combination of 2 pegs, 3 pegs, 2 pegs, 3 pegs. And the reason that you when you do the combination that you alternate is so that you get a consistent heat throughout the floor, or an even heat throughout the floor. Okay, so I use a rubber float to help insert the wire between the pegs or the knobs or whatever you want to call them. You don't want to use anything that is sharp or that can cut the wire or damage the wire. A float or even a wooden float works pretty nice. Okay, so this is an abbreviated version of this installation. On my channel I have the same floor being installed, but it's much longer and I go into every detail of the installation, covering everything thoroughly. So if you feel that you don't have enough information with this video, you can check out the other one where I just show every step one at a time and give a lot of information about it. Okay, so this wire can be either put at 2 knobs apart or 3 knobs apart, or a combination of, or an alternating combination 2 3 2 3 2 3. So it could either go all 2 or all 3, or a combination of 2 3 2 3. And the reason you do an alternating combination is so that the heat remains constant. You don't get hot spots. It's more of a constant and even heat. Okay, so to regulate the temperature of the floor, you need a probe in the floor which connects to the thermostat. So usually it's a good idea to put 2 in, just in case one fails. And it's not likely to fail, but if it does, the probe is under the tile, so it can't be replaced. So it's good to have a spare. So usually you install 2 of these probes, and you put it between the wires. You don't want to. You want it in the middle of 2 wires. You don't want it close to one wire, but in the middle. And you install both of them, but you only connect one. So these are the probes to regulate the heat of the mat. And you test these as well as I showed you earlier. Okay, so this is the wire I use for this mat here. It's WarmWire by SunTouch. This particular one is 240 volts. And for the Prodeso heat, you can use pretty much any wire that has been approved for this mat here, as is SunTouch. So like I said, I've got all the wire down, got the sensors in, and I've tested it twice, and now I'm gonna start installing some tile. The thinset used on this uncoupling membrane is an uncoupling membrane mortar. This is unmodified thinset, but it's a premium unmodified thinset. Don't get cheap thinsets. So I'm going to mix this up and start installing this tile. Okay, so when you install this tile, first you're going to go over the mat with the back side of the trowel, the flat side, and make sure that you completely fill all the mat. Then you're going to flip it over, put some more thinset on, and notch it out. Okay, so just to recap a little bit, I installed the membrane with a modified thinset because I installed it on plywood, and then I inserted the wire, the probes for the wire, and now I'm installing the tile. And at each step I tested. So first of all, I tested the wire when I first took it out of the box to make sure that it was good. Then I inserted the wire into the mat and I tested it again. Everything tested out good, and I recorded all the readings. Now I'm installing the tile. Now, as I was saying before, this is an unmodified thinset. It's a premium unmodified thinset, and you need to use this kind of thinset when you're going over an impervious underlayment like the Prodeso heat. So you're going to use unmodified thinset to install your tile. Use the appropriate trowel size depending on the size of the tile. You're either going to use a larger trowel for a larger tile and a smaller trowel for smaller tile. Your goal is to achieve 100% coverage when installing the tile. 100% coverage of thinset between the tile and the mat. So anyway, backside of the trowel to fill the waffles, notch side of the trowel to gauge out the thinset, and then you install your tile. And then once you've installed your tile, then you test your wire one more time, and that is the last time you test your wire. Okay, so the tile's all installed, and so I'm going to test the wires with my multimeter one last time, and then it's up to the electrician to hook everything up. Okay, so you just screw out the floor once your tile's in, and you're pretty much done. The electrician will hook up the wires to the power, because here in Massachusetts you need a licensed electrician to do that. And just to note that you want to make sure that you leave room for expansion and contraction around the perimeter where the tile meets the wall, and that you use a soft joint anywhere that the tile has to abut against a hard surface. The reason for this is because a tile will move. It does expand and contract, and with the heated wire under the floor, it's going to do that even more. So just make sure you leave the appropriate amount of room for expansion and contraction. Okay, so a little bit of time has gone by. Electrician has been here. The thermostat is installed and the floor is running. It's heating. Programmable thermostat, and this is the finished product.